Okay, we've got our 7.3 IDI mounted on the engine run stand. And you can see sort of what we did here. And just to clear the flywheel, had to have the flywheel on there so we can start it. And thankfully the starter mounts to the this adapter plate, so we didn't have to have a bell housing or a transmission on it, which I don't have a bell housing for one of these engines. So anyway, that's going to work out, I think. And I've got the CDR hooked up, and that'll just be temporary because we're running this naturally aspirated on the test stand, and then that comes off when the turbo goes on, and that's actually the turbo drain, and the CDR is located on the inlet of the turbo. I've shimmed and pop tested another set of injectors. Ben's actually getting me one more out of our other motor right now so I can finish installing that. And then it'll be time to put the pump on and all the lines. We've still got to make our alternator tightener. We've got our manifolds on. We've got them cleaned up and some high temp coating on them. Was able to get radiator hoses worked out on our test stand radiator, which usually that's a pain, but this actually worked out pretty good. I had a set of stock hoses that we carry around in the truck. So anyway, we still got a lot of little details. Got to get the glow plug controller and harness cleaned up and wired up on the engine, and still got to get the gauges and starter wired and all that. So hopefully just another day or so and we'll be ready to fire this off. Now, what I'm working on right now is pressure testing the oil cooler. And I had said I would probably show some video on that. So basically what we've done, we've got a plate. It's a 1/4 inch thick plate cut that bolts across the oil cooler. And then we've drilled and tapped 1/4-20 pipe threads, one port into the water side and one port into the oil pressure side. Of course, you have to have an oil filter on it. And then I took my leak down tester for we use for engines and made an adapter hose, and so I've got it dialed up to 45 psi right now. That's what the manual calls for, and we are in the water side right now, and I've got it down in water, not got any growing bubbles or anything like that. And then I can hold my finger over the oil port, and there's just absolutely no pressure, no leakage, no anything there. And I've done the same thing, like we'll take this hose out, I've already done the same thing on the oil side, and you pressurize it and make sure there's no leakage through to the water side. I'm not going to bore you with all that. So anyway, that says that our oil cooler should be good to go. And I'm going to pause real quick here and go get the core of one of these oil coolers and kind of show you what it's like inside. Okay, here's what the core of the cooler looks like. And this is the oil passages. You can see it's got lots of really tiny fins all down in there. Goes in one end and out the other, of course. And you have O-rings at this point right here and O-rings here. And that keeps the oil and water separated. Then the water part goes through these tubes. This is kind of like old boiler tubes. But anyway, the coolant goes through here, and then you've got fins attached to each of those tubes. And that's how the oil cooler works. And then you've got these cast aluminum end pieces that hold the O-rings and have all the fittings and everything on them. So it's a pretty neat piece, but it can cause you a lot of grief if you start getting a leakage. You know, you start mixing water and oil and water, and you can have issues pretty quickly. So I wanted to be sure that at least I've done the best I know how in getting this rebuilt and tested. So hopefully we'll have no problems when we put it on the engine. So this is ready to install now. Okay, well, it's time to fire this thing off. Got everything cobbled together on the engine stand. Got a couple of batteries wired together and got them on the charger, and finally got all the stuff buttoned up. This injector pump, I haven't said anything much about it. It is a classic Diesel Designs 90cc flat fuel curve, so it's not a real super hot pump, but it's definitely above stock. And we've run it some, probably put 5,000 miles on it in the hauler itself. We've got it in here ready to do the engine swap. So anyway, so I have a known good pump, and got the R&D injector lines or return rails put on, and I had to do some work on this harness. I actually had an extra harness, so I didn't have to take anything off of this truck, but this harness was set up for the glow plug controller to be back here in the center, and I relocated it over to the valve cover, so I had to do a little wire extending and get everything laid out for the glow plugs, but it actually turned out to be in better shape than my other one. We've got an oil pressure gauge screwed in right here. That's where the turbo feed will come from. Once we get this swapped over, we get the turbo on it. And got a mechanical temperature gauge in this port right here. And got a little oil leak when I poured oil in it. This cover for the inspection cover for the timing cover, that's actually going to get changed, because for the Banks turbo, that's where the CDR picks up, and it's got a different piece, so I didn't even want to RTV that on, so it's got a little bit of a seat there. It's got a paper towel shoved in it for now. So anyway, that's where we're at. We've got the engine stand hooked up. The on switch feeds power to the fuel shutoff solenoid. That's the only power you have to have for these engines. You have to turn that fuel solenoid on. And I got a little confused. I actually thought this other terminal was fuel solenoid, but that's the timing advance, I think. And then of course we got our electric fan and fuel pump. So anyway, I'm gonna fire it off here and let you see what it does. Okay, we got this thing on the stand and running. So I'll show you that. As you can see, we've got a problem. We've got quite a bit of smoke out the, I guess that'd be the right bank. I'm hoping that that's maybe a bad injector, overfueling one cylinder. I just don't know. It's a light smoke, and it does seem like it has a little bit of a flutter, like it's not, firing clean on that side. So I pulled the oil fill cap, and I mean, this thing has 0 blow by. It's surprising. So I don't think we've got oil coming by and doing that. But anyway, we'll just have to dive into it tomorrow and see if maybe I've got an injector that's not acting right. Otherwise, it's not good. So anyway, stay tuned. Okay, so I've got my problem fixed. I don't know how I managed to do this, but I had an injector on this bank. This is the bank that was smoking. Was missing a shim. I don't know how that I pop tested all of them and shimmed all of them, and it managed to go together without a shim. I just don't understand, but basically that was the problem, which I'm super relieved. And so what I was going to do is I swapped injectors from left to right bank, and then I went ahead and tested all 4 of these, and sure enough, one of them just basically had no pop tension at all. So it was just dumping raw fuel, and that was causing the smoking every time it hit that cylinder, and the rattling sound was fuel knock. So anyway, got that fixed, and as you can see, it purrs like a kitten and don't have any problems I know of yet. We'll run it through a few heat cycles and check it good for leaks, but right now it looks like it's going to be an excellent engine, and we'll probably start swapping it over in the next day or two and try to get done with this. So anyway, I'm probably going to stop this video at this point, and then maybe pick back up as we're doing the engine swap.